I think it's clear that your family has tried to fraudulently shield money for your own personal benefit. I think it's appalling. Those profits, in my opinion, should be clawed back. You and your family should compensate the American public for the harm that you've caused, and you should be held fully accountable for your actions. But now I'd like to turn to Dr. Landau next. Just last month in your settlement with the Justice Department, your company pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government, this misbranding of OxyContin, and illegal kickbacks. You pleaded guilty to criminal charges. Who committed these crimes? Which individuals at Purdue committed those crimes? Mr. Landau.
Thank you for the question, Chairperson Maloney. You're correct. The company pled guilty in U.S. District Court to 3 felonies for specific crimes it committed during a specific period. And we're taking full accountability and responsibility for those crimes. We have over $8 billion of fines and penalties issued to us. We have a commitment for ongoing cooperation with the Department of Justice and a commitment to create a public repository for all documents deemed relevant so that the American people can see for themselves what did or did not occur.
Thank you, but that's not the question I asked. I asked who committed the crimes. We know that there were crimes. Who committed them? All kinds of crimes. And I'm sorry, you're the CEO of the company and you pleaded guilty to crimes. And you're now telling me by not answering the question that you don't know who actually committed those crimes. If you don't know who committed those crimes, then you can't be sure that they're no longer working for Purdue. Will you at least commit to getting the names of the people who committed these crimes to the committee? After you talk to your lawyers, crimes were committed. Who did them? Who are the ones that bribed doctors and pharmacies? Who are the ones that conspired to defraud the U.S. government? Who are the ones that misbranded OxyContin and said it was safe when it's not, that it can kill people, as we've heard from our witnesses? So if you could talk to your lawyers and get that information. So to sum it up, the Sackler family made billions of dollars by fueling an opioid crisis, over $35 billion, that has claimed the lives of thousands and thousands of Americans and has caused an enormous amount of pain for families across the country. In light of all of this, Mr. Sackler and Dr. Sackler, I'd like to ask you one final question. And I'd like to begin with you, Dr. Sackler. Will you apologize to the American people for the role you played in the opioid crisis, Dr. Sackler?
I would be happy to apologize to the American people for all of the pain they've suffered and for the tragedies that they've experienced in their families. And I thought I did that earlier in my opening comments. That was my intention. I also am very angry. I'm angry that some people working at Purdue broke the law. I'm angry about it from 2007, and I'm angry about it now, again, in 2020. I think that...
I know you're angry, and I'm sorry, but that's not the apology we were looking for. You apologize for the pain people have suffered, but you've never apologized for the role that you played in the opioid crisis. So I'll ask you again, will you apologize for the role you played in the opioid crisis?
I have struggled with that question. I have asked myself over many years. I have tried to figure out, is there anything that I could have done differently, knowing what I knew then, not what I know now? And I have to say, there's nothing that I can find that I would have done differently based on what I believed and understood then, and what I learned from management and the reports to the board, and what I learned from my colleagues on the board. And it is extremely distressing. And it's,
Now, and Mr. Sackler, will you apologize for the role that you played in the opioid crisis?
Well, I echo much of what my cousin said, but I will say to the American people, I am deeply and profoundly sorry that OxyContin has played a role in any addiction and death. While I believe I conducted myself legally and ethically, and I believe the full record will demonstrate that, I still feel absolutely terrible that a product created to help that has helped so many people has also been associated with death and addiction.